Imagine a new kind of investing, a potentially life-changing way to invest that honors biblical principles, the kind of principles that you and I grew up with. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has made biblically responsible investing possible, offering mutual funds and ETFs that are filtered for biblical principles. Don't compromise your values. Invest with Timothy Plan. Ask your financial advisor or call Timothy Plan at 1-800-TIM-PLAN. Again, that's 1-800-846-7526 and discover what it means to be a biblically responsible investor. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com. Read carefully before investing. Mutual funds distributed by Timothy Partners Ltd. and ETFs distributed by Foreside Fund Services LLC. As a paid testimonial, there is no guarantee of future performance and each experience will differ.
Hello there, welcome to another MemoPod with me, your host Peter Heck, and here we are in the corner. That's all I've got to call it right now. I'll try to come up with a name for it, but that's where we are. We're in a corner, and so that's what I'm referring to it. MemoPod from the corner, and I'm doing it differently, and here's why. If you are a subscriber, a paid subscriber to the Memo, which gets you the written memo every Monday, gets you the Bible teaching on Wednesday, and then it gets you the full MemoPod, which means those of you who are free subscribers, you'll see this opening portion, and then we'll go to break, and then we'll come back and talk about something that is just for our paid subscribers. Also, you get discounts on stuff, and some of you who are paid subscribers saying, I haven't seen any discounts. That's because the stuff's coming. It should be here soon. And soon is a relative term since I've been saying that for about 9 months now. But anyway, I digress. So if you are a paid subscriber, you know that it was just a couple memos ago that at the beginning, on a Monday, at the beginning, I gave you a number of poll questions, and I asked you for your feedback on a number of those questions. I'm going to give you in the second half of this, for paid subscribers, I'm going to give you the results of that poll and kind of laugh at you, or laugh together with you, about some of those results. That comes up in the second half, but as part of that, I received a number of emails from folks that wanted to comment on what it was that they answered to provide more clarity and more explanation. And by the way, for those of you who are free subscribers, I was asking things like, do you want to see more written content? In that written content, do you prefer the political or the theological or a mixture of both or the cultural? What is it that you're looking for? So a number of questions like that. Length of the MemoPod. Does it need to go longer? Does it need to be shorter? That's the kind of stuff that I was asking. So, why am I telling you all of this now? Because one of the things that was mentioned to me in an email was, a lot of times on the MemoPod, you will talk about things that you wrote as your columns for Not the Bee during the week, which is true, because a lot of times those are the major issues that I paid attention to that week in a busy schedule, and so consequently, that's the stuff I feel most prepared to talk about on the MemoPod. But the thing was, and I didn't even think about this, maybe I should have, what about the folks that read Not the Bee, read my columns there, and then they tune into the MemoPod as a paid subscriber and they hear me say and talk about basically the same things that I already wrote about. It's repetition. So maybe some different topics. Maybe a mailbag. Love the mailbag idea. I think I did a Q&A once early on. And so we need to get back to that. We need to get back to a mailbag for paid subscribers, which I will implement. I'm going to implement it, but today I'm implementing something else, and that is, let's talk about some issues that I'm not writing about, but that I was considering writing about, things that are of interest to me. And I've got a handful of them here. I'm going to go with just the paper written copies of this stuff. I want to start with the politics. Okay? And those of you who are free subscribers, you may say, no, I'd rather have the theological. Well, if you're a paid subscriber, you'd be able to share those opinions with me. You can share them anyway. I'm not going to listen to you, but you can share them. I'm kidding. Or am I? Let me start with this, because I understand what we've got now. We've got the Trump-Biden race that's coming up in November, and we're all just giddy about the prospects of a couple 80-year-olds running against each other for president, implementing policies that they themselves will not end up having to live with. good idea there. Anyway, so here is an Axios poll that a lot of people are talking about right now. Axios poll found that Latinos, and by the way, this dates back to my days on the radio, when I used to do the radio show, and I would always try to say Latinos like, oh gosh, I'm blanking on this, Alex Trebek. If you ever watched Jeopardy, one of my favorite things about Alex Trebek was that he would be reading a question or an answer in normal English, and then he would get to a word like that and completely change dialects. He'd get to a French word and he would sound like a born and bred Frenchman. Or he'd get to a word like that and all of a sudden he'd be reading the latest Axios Ipsos poll found that among Latinos. It was the weirdest thing. So I kind of picked up on that habit, and that's why I say that. But among Latinos, Biden was only leading Trump by 9 points. Okay. Now, the reason that that's news is because the last time around, when Biden won the presidency and defeated Trump, the margin was 29 points, and now it's dropped to just 9. And that could prove pivotal, it is said, in swing states like Nevada and Arizona. Arizona, which, by the way, should be, historically speaking, a Republican state. Somehow Republicans continue to manage to screw that up. Biden's lead, this is according to one of the pollsters, a Democrat pollster, Biden's lead shrinks even further to 3 points among Latinos who said they plan to vote in November. So of all Latinos, it was a 9-point lead, but then when it was the ones likely to vote, 3 points. 11% of Latinos surveyed said they would not vote for Biden or Trump, and 28% said that they were undecided. It makes me wonder if some of those Latinos that said they're not going to vote for either, if it's tied to their Catholicism perhaps, and their views on the sanctity of life, which Donald Trump kind of threw under the bus earlier this week, and we know where Joe Biden stands on the whole thing. Latinos voting for Trump did so because of his anti-immigration positions and not despite those positions. I love the way Axios writes that up. Because, to be fair, to this point, Donald Trump has outlined an anti-illegal immigration position, not an anti-immigration position. Now, are there some on the right? Are there some conservatives that want to slow, even halt legal immigration for a period of time? Yeah, there are. And maybe Donald Trump will end up there, but that's not where he is now. It's just funny how they write that. I've got another story on that I'll get to in 1 second. But here's why I bring this up. Because everybody's filling their drawers about it. If you're a Biden supporter, if you're a Democrat, if you're a progressive, you're all worked up because we got to unload Biden. He's not going to be able to get the job done. Look at his lead. It's only 3 points among probable voters of Latinos. He's not going to win. Then on the other side, you get the Trump folks and the Republicans, and they're super excited. Man, if Latinos only break for Biden by 3 points, we got this thing in the bag, man. We're going to win Nevada. We're going to win Arizona. And what a lot of people don't pay attention to. Well, there's a lot that people don't pay attention to. But I just want you to realize where this race starts. And this is why a lot of folks who were not in favor of Donald Trump winning the nomination, this is where a lot of them were coming from. They just never got any oxygen during the primary, which I think is appalling. And I largely blame conservative media for being too afraid of Donald Trump to actually vocally say this stuff and make sure that their readers were aware, that their viewers were aware. The way this map starts, when you're running Donald Trump as the nominee, if Trump were to win both states, Nevada and Arizona, and win all of the same states that he won in 2020, Florida, Ohio, all of those, so he wins every state that he won in Ohio, or in 2020, and he picks up Arizona and Nevada, which he lost, he would receive, you ready for this? 249 electoral votes. You have to have 270 to win. So let's say that Donald Trump is able to hold the states that he won in 2020. And a lot of people think he'll be able to do that. Let's say that he holds those states in 2020. If he picks up Arizona and Nevada, he's still 21 electoral votes short. Where is that going to come from? It does say that Trump is currently expected to win Georgia. They have 16 electoral votes. Well, that puts him at 265. This is what I'm saying. Look, you can talk to me till you're blue in the face about how bad Biden is, but the motivating, the driving factor that got people out to vote for Joe Biden in the first place was not Joe Biden. It was their hatred of Trump. Do you believe, and I'm asking this question honestly, do you believe that there is a large portion of the population that got out and voted against Donald Trump in the last election who have seen something over the course of the last 4 years that say, you know what, I actually do like Donald Trump? I'm not seeing it. And that's why this math is so very difficult to overcome. Even if you're running Joe Biden. Trump holds every state, picks up Arizona, picks up Nevada, picks up Georgia. Joe Biden still wins with 273 electoral votes. Which means it's going to have to be Pennsylvania, it's going to have to be Michigan, it's going to have to be Wisconsin. And if you were paying attention in the midterms, a lot of people thought all of those states were going to see Republican victories. And it wasn't particularly close. Democrats easily handled it. So from an electoral standpoint, I don't think a lot of people have thought through the actual math scenarios and the way the electoral map looks. Maybe anti-Biden fervor is going to sweep the country and is going to sweep Donald Trump back into power. But frankly, I don't think I do not, at this point, I do not believe that Joe Biden is going to be as animating of a figure in this election as Donald Trump would be. And that's a nightmare for Republicans. What they needed this election to be about was Joe Biden and his failures. But by nominating Donald Trump sucks all of the oxygen out of the room, and this entire election, the media will see to it, the Biden campaign will certainly be pushing it, it will manage to be a referendum on Donald Trump. It'll end up being about his legal problems. It'll end up being about the things that he puts out on Truth Social. It will end up being about his election denial. It'll end up being about January 6th. That's what this will end up being a referendum on, and not the last 4 years of utter failure from a president who in any other circumstance we would say is in the throes of dementia. I mean, that's what we would say about somebody like Joe Biden if it wasn't the current situation. And yeah, you can say that that's sour grapes because I didn't want Donald Trump to be the nominee. One of the reasons I didn't want Donald Trump to be the nominee, there were a few, but one of the major reasons was this. He makes this race competitive when it shouldn't be at all. At all. And what is the right up against? Let me go with this story. This story's sitting here in front of me. Just get the headline from this. If you want to know, not only do Republicans have to overcome the anti-Trump, we don't like his personality, we don't like his brashness, we don't like his tweeting or all of that stuff. They also have to overcome this kind of thing. Here's the headline. USA Today changes headline on Trump abortion stance after Biden campaign complains during press call. You got that right? The USA Today had a headline about Donald Trump's abortion stance. He went out and gave this soliloquy on his abortion stance. It was mindless, it was buffoonish, it was completely void of logic, and certainly threw pro-lifers under the bus. No surprise there. He was a pro-choice Democrat to begin with, and we are where we are, okay? But so Donald Trump goes out and gives this speech. Here's what I think about abortion. USA Today writes a headline about his abortion stance. The Biden campaign doesn't like the headline. Stop and consider over the course of the last several years How many headlines have been written by the USA Today or the New York Times or the Washington Post that Republicans don't like, that the Trump campaign would not like, and that they would complain about? Now ask yourself, how many of those complaints saw the USA Today or the Washington Post or the New York Times go and change the headline because the Trump campaign didn't like the way they'd written it? No, doesn't happen. You remember what the Washington Post says about that stuff? Democracy dies in darkness. Yeah. No, we are fearless, intrepid little journalists. We are reporters, and we have a duty to the truth. We're not beholden to any political party unless the Biden campaign doesn't like what we're saying, and then, of course, we'll switch it. That's exactly what happens here, okay? So Trump announces his abortion position. That's on a Monday. He says, basically, states should have the final say in all abortion laws. This was the headline that USA Today put out with their article. This is what they wrote. The will of the people. Trump opposes national abortion ban, says states should decide. Okay? That was what they wrote. I'll read it one more time. The will of the people. Trump opposes national abortion ban, says states should decide. Okay, now, if I can point this out, I got a copy of this. This is a quote of what Donald Trump said in his abortion speech. Listen closely. Quote, at the end of the day, this is about the will of the people. Headline from USA Today, will of the people. I mean, that's what he said. Trump opposes a national abortion ban, says states should decide. Again, the quote from Donald Trump, at the end of the day, this is about the will of the people. And he goes on to say, different states will have different rules. Opposes national abortion ban, right? Says states should decide. Yep. So the headline is 100% accurate. It makes three claims. That Trump said, the will of the people. Trump said, at the end of the day, this is about the will of the people. Check. The next thing the headline said was, Trump opposes national abortion ban. In the speech, Donald Trump pointed out, he opposes a national abortion ban. Check. And then the last part says states should decide. In his speech, Donald Trump said, the states will be the ones that determine it. Check. So the headline is completely accurate. The change, the USA Today changes this headline. The change came just 2 hours after the Biden campaign blasted the USA Today over the headline. The press call included Biden campaign manager Julie Chavez Rodriguez, Deputy Communications Director Brooke Gorin, and pro-abortion advocate Caitlin Cash. Here's one Biden-Harris staffer. Quote, one particularly egregiously false headline even said Trump, quote, opposes a national abortion ban and will leave it up to the will of the people. Okay, USA Today says, look, our mission is to report the facts as accurately as possible. Okay, I'll give them credit. Their original headline did that. But the Biden campaign didn't like it. Why didn't they like it? Because they're setting up to make this election about Donald Trump and abortion and all of that. And so they don't want mainstream media putting out headlines that the Republicans can seize upon to say, look, Donald Trump said he opposes the national abortion ban. No, the Biden campaign wants you to believe that Donald Trump is going to be going from hospital room or abortion clinic to abortion clinic and arresting women who have abortions. That's what they want you to believe that he's going to do. And so they push, and the USA Today caves. It's unbelievable. Within 2 hours, the headline becomes, Donald Trump says states should decide abortion policy, avoids talk of a national ban. No editor came out and said, here's why we made the change. They just made the change. And we know the change came 2 hours after the Biden campaign complained about what it was. That's what I'm saying. The right is up against, and we know that. We know that progressive leftists control the mainstream media, and they're going to run with it. That's the nature of it, which again is why you have to ask the question, why are you running someone like Donald Trump when you know you already have to face off against a hostile media? It's lovely, isn't it? It's lovely. It's good. It's great. It's going to go really, really well. One more story for you before we have to take a break and come back with just our paid subscribers. Canadian man. A Canadian man who had 2 healthy fingers amputated to treat his body integrity dysphoria has now announced that he's happy because he had 2 of his fingers chopped off. This guy is 20 years old. He experienced what was called profound distress over his left hand's 4th and 5th fingers. Okay, that would be ring man and pinky. Please tell me you know that song. Where is pointer? Where's tall man? Where is ring man? Where's pinky? Thumbkin? I don't know. Maybe my house was the only place we sang that song. But anyway, okay, so this guy, he doesn't like his ring man and his pinky on his left hand. He believes that he needs to have them amputated. Okay, if you don't know what they're calling body integrity dysphoria, what that is, it is the, as it's termed, rare phenomenon of individuals wanting to amputate parts of their own body. Usually it's limbs, because they feel that body part doesn't belong to them. It's a mental illness. Here is Dr. Nadia Nadeau, who performed this surgery to remove the fingers. Despite ethical concerns and limited literature on body integrity dysphoria, the decision to proceed with elective surgery was based on this patient's sustained desire, potential risks of self-harm, and the distinct presentation involving 2 fingers rather than a complete limb. The man described having intrusive thoughts about his left hand's 4th and 5th fingers since childhood, felt they should not belong to his body. He described often hiding his fingers, causing pain, and said he had not told his family about his distress due to embarrassment. So, it is pretty clear this guy has a mental issue of some sort, and he needs help. He needs to be treated. He doesn't need to start amputating healthy body parts. But don't you love how the argument is, well, it was just 2 fingers. All right, what if it was 3? What if it was a hand? Does it matter that it was the left hand? What if it's a leg below the knee? What if it's an ear? Whatever you're going to say is body integrity dysphoria, that they are dysphoric about. Are we going to say that that's okay? Well, it's their own body, and they are embarrassed by the whole thing. Here's a quote from it, Dr. Nadeau writing in this. He had contemplated asking a friend to watch over him and be prepared to call emergency services in case his attempt led to a need for resuscitation. He was going to chop them off himself. Working in a sawmill, that's not a good deal. That isn't a good combination. Working in a sawmill, he considered building a small guillotine to cut his fingers, because he couldn't imagine himself living for the years to come with those fingers. And once amputated, he said, immediate relief. And of course, the doctors are all saying, look, he's doing great, and he's really excited, he's really happy, and he's returning to it. Okay, my question is, what happens when he comes back and he wants the 5 fingers removed on the other hand? Do we do that? Or the next guy wants that? This body integrity dysphoria has a lot of the same sound as gender dysphoria, where you are amputating body parts, or in the case of gender dysphoria, sometimes you are amputating body parts, sometimes you're just mutilating body parts for individuals so that they can align their bodies within their heads what they believe they should be. And I'm not going to go into all of the details on this, but here's my take on the whole thing. Okay, mental illness and psychological disorders and psychological problems need to be treated. They need to be dealt with. And the way that a sane culture deals with those things is not by endorsing, condoning, and performing surgeries that affirm people's delusions. That isn't a good approach. Whether you're lopping off fingers, or you're lopping off top parts of a female, or you're lopping off bottom parts of a dude, that isn't medical treatment. It's mutilation is what it is. And there are always going to be consequences to it. Okay, I'm interested in your thoughts on any of that stuff. The politics stuff, the body part lopping off stuff. You can send them my way, peterhegg.com, or just comment below in the comment section. peterhegg.com, or comment below in the comment section. Got it? Great. If you are a paid subscriber, I want to give you the results of that little poll, those poll questions that I gave you a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. I want to give you the results of that and laugh at some of them with you, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But also, here's where I want to get to. I wrote not long ago about being at a crisis pregnancy center, and their effort to reach women is becoming increasingly difficult. Increasingly difficult. There is a movie that is out, and it's called Girls State. I don't know how popular it'll be. I don't know on what. I think it's on Apple TV. And if you ever went to Boys State or Girls State, the American Legion sponsors it for juniors in high school this summer. I went to it, ran for lieutenant governor, got destroyed. But anyway, that's what this is about. It's about a pro-life girl who goes there. And all of these girls, essentially, they're teenage girls, which means if they're interested in politics, it's because they bought into third-wave feminism and down with the patriarchy and all of this stuff. And so this pro-life girl goes there and tries to win people over to her position on the life issue. I want to talk in the second half, after we do the results and all of that, I want to talk about how Christians can reach young girls, teenage girls primarily, who are so committed to this my body, my choice, body autonomy, down with the patriarchy. Men shouldn't be making decisions for my body. When that is so ingrained in their heads, how do you crack through it? I want to offer some insights into that and get your thoughts as well. I think it'll be helpful to you. I would love to have you, if you're a paid subscriber, come back. If you're a free subscriber, come back. Simply go on to your email there and upgrade. You can upgrade for just a month if you want to try it out for a month, or you can sign up for the discounted full year price. Would love to have you for a full year, and you really need to do more than just a month, but whatever, you can cancel at any time. Would just love to have you part of this community and in on these discussions like the one we're getting ready to have. So hang tight.
The Memo with Peter Heck.
Please patronize and thank all the sponsors of the Heck podcast, including McGonagall's Buick GMC, Terrell's Auto Service, Norris Insurance, Stevens Machine, Creative Financial Center, Indiana Right to Life, Tri-Green Tractor, the Indiana Family Institute, Hartman Family Farms, Liberty Financial Group, the Wyman Group, and J. Watson Creations.